everyone, this is Taryn with Wonderfully Made Handcrafting, and welcome back to Theology Thursday. Now today we are on question 10 of the Westminster Shorter Catechism, and I can't wait to walk through this study with you. So let's get started. Now, like other weeks, I will be talking about the question and answer as you see me crafting in this process video. If you have any questions about what I did, you can leave them down below, but I'll also come back to all the crafting stuff at the end of this video and kind of talk you through my process. So this week, question 10 is, how did God create man? And the answer is, God created man, male and female, after his own image, in knowledge, righteousness, and holiness, with dominion over the creatures. We see this in a number of verses in the Bible, but a couple of them are Genesis 1:27, which says, "So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them." Also in Colossians 3:10, "And have put on the new man, which is renewed in knowledge after the image of him that created him." And also Ephesians 4:24, "And that ye put on the new man, which after God is created in righteousness and true holiness." And lastly, I have Genesis 1:28, "And God blessed them, and God said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth." Now, like I've said in other videos, I'm reading through the Westminster Shorter Catechism for Study Classes book by G.I. Williamson, and I'll link that down below. But in this chapter, he does talk quite a bit about evolution and how that's not biblical, and even theistic evolution, which is how people think that evolution and God can go hand in hand, like people can come from apes still because God was in it or whatnot. And so he has a lot of paragraphs on that and how that is unbiblical. So anyways, I think that's very important, but I find that there's a little bit more that's interesting in this chapter that I want to jump to. So I'm going to skip over that. Definitely pick up this book if you haven't yet or want to know a little bit more about it. It's definitely worth your time and money. So what I do want to speak on today is how man was created in God's image. And Williamson makes 3 different points on how man was created in God's image. And he writes the first one saying, "The Catechism says that God created man after his own image and knowledge." And we see that in Genesis 2:20. "Adam gave names to all cattle and to the fowl of the air and to every beast of the field." And Williamson later writes, "He was doing something more than merely thinking up names. Names were really true descriptions of the things that were named. When Adam named his wife Eve, which means life-giving, he did so because she was the mother of all living. When Adam studied the animals too and gave them names, he showed himself able to grasp and to express the true nature of things. In other words, Adam, while yet without sin," that's little part's important, "was a prophet in the highest sense. For a prophet is one who can see the truth of God and speak the same for the benefit of others." We also see that man was created in God's image in righteousness. Before Adam sinned, he was completely free of any guilt and was righteous. The third point is that God created man in holiness. Williamson points out, "Before Adam first sinned, his very nature was pure, and every thought and intent of his heart was only for things that were good and right in the sight of God." Williamson goes on and says, "Because he knew the Lord's will as a prophet and desired to serve him only as a priest, he was also willing and able to represent God as a king, as one who had dominion over creation." So we see through this question that God created man in knowledge, righteousness, and holiness. And as soon as sin crept into man's life, it was ruined. And that is exactly why I put this little arsenic ephemera piece on here. It just reminds me that sin completely destroys us and we are separated from God without Jesus. So now let me try to catch you up a little bit. That little man ephemera piece is a transparency from Halloween. I have been saving it forever. I don't find it, gruesome or weird. I just thought it was nice because the question is how God created man. But anyways, I decided I was going to embellish that a little bit. So I grabbed these greenery pieces. I actually just used them in a pocket card that I was working on, and I had an extra one that I had pasted on there, but I didn't like how it was kind of getting lost in the background a little bit. So I wanted to use this foiled piece of paper that I had on hand. And so that is what I decided to use on top. Plus, since I already have that greenery piece down, I will just fit it right on over it and it'll pop it up a little bit. Now about that background. Today, honestly, I felt a little uninspired. And so as I was looking through my stash of stuff, I realized that I have all these backdrops. These are from Tim Holtz. This one specifically is from Volume 1. And they are amazing pieces of background and just kind of get your juices flowing. I find them a perfect starting off point, especially if you're just kind of feeling blah. They really start you kind of in the right direction. And that is exactly what I grabbed today. That way I didn't have to do really any mixed media work on the background, but I still get that same look. I'm trying to make sure that this piece is as lined up as possible on the other greenery piece, and then I'm going to turn to some factory tags. I have these metal tags and I really wanted to add a little bit more grunge to them. If I had any, I would grab some white picket fence to add into the letters and numbers to kind of brighten it up afterwards. But it's okay. I like the grunge no matter what. And so I add a little bit of mushroom alcohol ink. Now I did have some questions about if I would invest in alcohol inks. I don't use them like they are normally used. But I do want to try to use them more like that. But I often use them for dyeing metals. I love them for dyeing metals and making things a little more grungy. My personal favorite is the color mushroom. You'll see me constantly using that. I need to get one of those huge bottles of it. Also, this tag says Design Studio, which I thought was perfect for this question. Now, I could have used collage medium to glue down this metal tag. It probably would have worked a little bit better, but I didn't have any on hand. All I have is the one in the jar, and so I didn't want to get my brush wet and everything. I probably should grab some in the tube soon. So anyways, I just glued it down with my Barely Arts glue. It seemed to work fine. I did have to lift it up a little bit in a couple minutes, but it was still wet, so it didn't tear or anything. I do have this little reinforcer for my tag that I had pulled off before I started working on it. And I want to add some of this embossing glaze. This is in the color Fired Brick, and I thought it would work well with all the reds on this tag. And what I am doing is I'm re-dipping it every time that I heat it up. And it gives this really, really nice glossy, chunky look as you keep on dipping it in. Once I add that whole reinforcer to the top, I realize that I still feel like this tag is missing something. I don't know, it just felt kind of empty at the bottom and maybe like I was missing a little bit of texture. Just didn't seem right. So I grabbed some fabric because that's my go-to, and I have this herringbone kind of red fabric from Hobby Lobby. It comes in a couple different colors and it is my absolute favorite fabric you could ever buy. So I just cut off a little bit and fold it up, and then I'll use my tiny attacher to staple it down. Now I know that these staples are going through to the back side of the tag. I'm choosing not really to care right now. It's not that big of a deal. I can still read everything, so it is what it is. I really like the fabric, but now I'm feeling like it needs maybe some more black. So I grab my Dymo label maker and I'm spelling out create because it goes along with the question. I was looking at the back side of the card to see maybe what one word I could use, and once I snipped it down, I could kind of fit it in. I do lift the tag up, the metal tag, a little bit so I can slide it in underneath, but then it works great. However, now with the embossed label and also the metal tag, it looks like I have one solid line on the bottom, and I want to break that up a little bit. So I grab some fabric tape by Tim Holtz, and I'm going to slide that under the metal tag. So I kind of have to lift it up a little bit, which no worries, it was still wet, so it hadn't fully dried, so it works fine. And I'm going to place that under it and just tape it down. This tape is fairly sticky, so you don't need anything extra. And I will cut off the excess on the back side. And then all I'm going to do to complete this is actually add a little bit of it to the top right hand corner of the tag, and then I'll be using some of my Distress ink and black soot and edge the outside of this tag. It seemed still like I wanted a little bit more black, and so that will help this out a lot. After I've distressed the outer edges, this card will be done. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me over on Instagram at Wonderfully Made Handcrafting. I will link everything I use down below in the description, and I hope you have a wonderful day, guys. Bye.